He was a doctor who became a symbol of evil, conducting horrific experiments on innocent people during the Holocaust. Here's why Josef Mengele's legacy remains a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked power. Let's go together on this story. Josef Mengele was born on March 16th of 1911 in Günzburg, Germany. He was born into a middle-class Catholic family, and from a young age, he exhibited an interest in science and medicine, eventually studying philosophy and medicine from the University of Frankfurt and then later at the University of Munich. His early career as a student and young doctor was unremarkable, but the political landscape of Germany in the 1930s would soon shape his future in ways he could never have imagined. Mengele joined the Nazi Party in 1937, driven by the same fervent nationalism and racial ideology that was sweeping through Germany at the time. And shortly thereafter, he also became a member of the SS, a paramilitary organization that was, the key to carrying out Adolf Hitler's most brutal policies. By 1943, Mengele was sent to Auschwitz, that notorious Nazi concentration and extermination camp, where he would commit some of the most infamous atrocities in history. Upon arriving in Auschwitz, Mengele quickly earned the title the Angel of Death. That was a name that would haunt the memories of the survivors of the camp for generations. Mengele was appointed to oversee the selection process at train platforms, where the incoming prisoners were divided between those who would work and those who would be sent directly to the gas chambers. He had the power to determine who would live and who would die, but it was not enough for Mengele to simply oversee mass murder. He sought to conduct cruel and inhumane experiments on the prisoners, particularly those who were seen as genetically interesting by Nazi racial standards. One of Mengele's primary interests was in twins. He believed that studying twins could provide insight into the supposed racial superiority of the Aryan race. He selected numerous twins, often children, for his experiments, which included horrific and inhumane procedures. Mengele injected them with various substances, performed surgeries without anesthesia, and exposed them to extreme conditions in an attempt to study the effect on their bodies. He also conducted experiments with live dissection, often without any consideration for the victim's pain or suffering. His experiments were not only, they weren't scientific by any measure. They were cruel, they were senseless, and they were only intended to advance his warped vision of racial purity. Mengele's experiments were just one part of his legacy at Auschwitz. He also took part in the widespread abuse of prisoners, using them for medical experiments or as subjects in gruesome studies that were meant to further Nazi ideology. His power and status within the camp allowed him to act without fear of retribution, and he was responsible for the death of countless individuals. Mengele's cruelty knew no bounds, and his actions are seen as some of the most horrific atrocities of the Holocaust. As the tide began to turn in the war against Germany, Mengele fled Auschwitz in 1945, just before the camp was liberated by Soviet forces. He went into hiding, first in Germany and then later in South America, where he lived under various aliases. And despite his prominent role in the Holocaust, Mengele was never caught by the Allies, and he managed to avoid capture for the rest of his life. He lived in Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay, where he was protected by Nazi sympathizers, and he remained a fugitive. Mengele's escape was facilitated by a network of former Nazis, now that's known as the Odessa Organization, which helped war criminals escape Europe after the collapse of the Third Reich. For years, Mengele evaded capture, continuing to live his life in relative secrecy. It wasn't until the 1980s that the Israeli Mossad and other agencies began making serious efforts to track him down. However, Mengele's luck finally ran out in 1979. While living in Brazil under the false name of Wolfgang Gerhardt, he suffered a stroke and he drowned in a swimming pool on February 7th, 1979. His death went unnoticed for weeks, and his true identity was not confirmed until 1985, when DNA testing identified his remains. Mengele's legacy is one of evil, cruelty, and medical malpractice. That's on a scale that is difficult to comprehend. His actions during the Holocaust, driven by Nazi racial ideology, left an indelible mark on history. He is a symbol of the darkest side of human nature. He represents the capacity for cruelty and inhumanity when unchecked power, hatred, and bigotry take hold. His story serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of ideology-driven violence and the need to ensure that such atrocities are never repeated. Why does his story matter? First, this was a request. Someone requested it, and after some thought, I decided, you know what, yeah, it's a story that needs to be told. Josef Mengele's story matters because he represents the depths of human cruelty that can emerge when racist ideologies and unchecked power go unchallenged. His legacy serves as a warning against the dehumanization of others and the danger of scientific abuse and the need for vigilance in defending human rights. Mengele's actions were not isolated. They were part of a broader campaign of terror and genocide during the Holocaust that targeted Jews, Roma, disabled individuals, and others deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime. His story remains a critical lesson in the importance of remembrance, education, and responsibility. And that responsibility to ensure that such atrocities are never repeated. As we wrap this up, Josef Mengele may be dead, but his actions continue to haunt the collective memory of humanity. His experiments and cruelty represent the depths of evil that humanity is capable of and serve as a powerful reminder of the need to protect the rights and dignity of all people. If you were able to learn something new today or to broaden your depth of knowledge, that's what I'm here for. So if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, a comment, a follow, a share, a question for more things that you should know by being alive, because remembering figures like Josef Mengele, well, it helps us understand the importance of justice and human rights and the ongoing fight against hate. I want to thank Jacob David for making the suggestion, the engagement, and leaving the comment, and I'll be back with more. Thanks for watching.